Have you ever started a new routine with good intentions, only to find yourself slipping back into old habits a few weeks later? Maybe you feel busy all day, but still aren't making real progress on the things that matter most. If you're tired of relying on bursts of motivation, only to lose steam and wonder what happened, this book is for you. Build Your System, Transform Your Future Effortlessly isn't about pushing yourself harder or chasing the next productivity fad. Instead, it's about making life easier by setting up simple routines and shaping your surroundings so good habits happen almost automatically. You'll learn how to stop depending on willpower and start creating a personal system that guides your actions every day, even when you're tired or distracted. This book will show you how to set up your day so your most important work happens first, how to make habits stick by connecting them to things you already do, and how to organize your space and tools so you're not fighting distractions or wasting time getting started. Each chapter gives you clear steps you can use right away. You'll find practical exercises to help you set up one new routine, tidy your workspace, make decisions faster, and measure what's working, all without feeling overwhelmed. You don't need to be more disciplined. You just need a better setup. With the right systems in place, reaching your goals becomes much easier and often feels like it happens on its own. By the end of this book, you'll have a plan you can actually follow, and you'll know how to keep improving even if you've struggled with routines before. Let's get started. Your new system and your future are waiting. Chapter 1. Install the machine. You open your laptop with a plan. 2 hours of focused work before the first meeting. You'll finally finish that proposal, clear the backlog, maybe even start the new project. Then a Slack ping, a quick email check, a 5-minute call that stretches to 20. By noon, you've been busy for 6 hours but moved nothing meaningful forward. Sound familiar? This is the busy stalled paradox, and it's not a character flaw, it's a design problem. The invisible trap. Most people think they need more discipline, more motivation, better time management. They're wrong. The real issue is that you're running on mood instead of mechanism. Every morning, you wake up and reinvent your day. What should I tackle first? When should I check messages? How long should this take? Each micro-decision drains a little more mental fuel until by 2 p.m. you're scrolling feeds instead of shipping work. Context switching is the silent killer. Research shows that toggling between tasks can cost you up to 40% of your productive time. Not because the tasks are hard, but because your brain needs recovery time after each shift. Email to document to meeting to Slack. Each jump leaves residue. By the time you settle into deep work, another notification pulls you out. You're not lazy. You're bleeding attention through 1,000 tiny cuts. Decision fatigue compounds the damage. Should I respond now or later? Is this urgent? Which tool should I use? Every choice, no matter how small, taxes your willpower. By afternoon, you're making worse calls, not because you're weak, but because your cognitive budget is spent. Tool sprawl makes it worse. 5 apps for communication, 3 for project management, 2 for notes. Each platform demands a login, a context switch, a micro decision about where things belong. Unclear priorities seal the trap. Without a North Star, everything feels urgent. You react instead of execute. You're busy, but you're not building. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months, and the work that matters, the deep, leveraged, career-defining work, never gets done. The cost of inaction. Ignore this and you plateau. Output flatlines while effort climbs. You work harder, ship less, and wonder why. Deadlines slip. Colleagues stop counting on you. Trust erodes, not because you're incompetent, but because you're inconsistent. The system is broken, but everyone blames the operator. Burnout follows. Recovery windows vanish because you're always catching up. Errors spike. Quality drops. The work you do finish feels rushed, incomplete, barely good enough. You stop taking risks because you can't handle one more thing on your plate. Opportunities pass. Promotions go to people who seem calmer, more in control. Not because they're smarter, but because they've built better machines. Your self-image shifts. You used to see yourself as a builder, a finisher, someone who gets things done. Now you're just busy. The gap between who you are and who you want to be widens. Confidence decays, risk appetite collapses. You play it safe because you can't afford another failure, and the cycle tightens. The promise, predictable progress that compounds. This book offers a different path. Not more hustle, not another productivity hack, a personal operating system, a machine that runs whether you feel like it or not. The first time through, you'll install a minimum viable routine, one protected deep work block per day, one keystone habit that triggers a chain reaction, and one 30-minute weekly review to keep everything aligned. That's it. No complexity, no overwhelm, just 3 non-negotiables that create traction. Within 30 days, you'll see measurable wins. Ship 1 meaningful deliverable every week. Cut your average start time by 25%, from intention to first keystroke, faster and cleaner. Reduce daily interruptions by 30% through simple environmental tweaks and decision rules. These aren't aspirations. They're outcomes the system delivers automatically once you install the right pieces. Over time, the gains compound. Microsystems stack. Each routine you lock in reduces effort per unit of output. Reliability grows. Stress drops. Throughput climbs. You gain optionality, the freedom to say yes to bigger opportunities because your foundation is solid. The machine runs itself. You steer. The 9-step blueprint. This isn't theory, it's architecture. 9 steps, each building on the last, each designed to shift you from effort spikes to structural inevitability. System first means designing mechanisms before chasing milestones. You'll define what success looks like, then reverse engineer the daily actions that produce it. No guessing, no hoping, just clear inputs that generate predictable outputs. Day architecture turns your calendar into a forcing function. You'll map energy peaks and troughs, place deep work in your sharpest windows, and protect those blocks with ruthless boundaries. Meetings get capped, buffers get added. Your day enforces priorities so you don't have to. Habit Engine installs keystones, small routines that trigger cascades, the first minute of deep work, a 3-minute daily plan, a 10-minute shutdown ritual. Each habit is explicitly cued, simple to start, and immediately rewarding. Placement beats volume. Get the right few habits in the right slots, and everything else gets easier. Friction control hunts drag. You'll diagram the path from intention to action and delete every bump. One-click starts. Preloaded templates. Resources staged at the exact moment you need them. When starts are easy, momentum takes over. Momentum compounds. Environment design turns spaces and devices into silent coaches. Single-purpose zones, visible pipelines, distraction-resistant setups. Your environment whispers what to do next so you don't have to remember. Decision systems create rules so routine choices stop taxing your brain. Checklists, thresholds, if-then scripts. Automate the repeatable, save judgment for the rare. Fewer stalls, cleaner execution, time for the real work. Measure and iterate closes the loop. You'll pick 3 lead measures per system, inputs you control, not vanity metrics, and review weekly. One experiment at a time. Keep what works. Revert what doesn't. No drama, just tighter feedback and cleaner lines of progress. The final step, effortless freedom, integrates everything into a single operating system. Structure narrows options. Narrowed options reduce hesitation. Reduced hesitation cuts errors. The result, expanding freedom and predictable results. Foundation before speed. Order matters. Structure first, habits second, automation third. You can't optimize what you haven't defined. You can't sustain what you haven't measured. Each step reduces variance before adding volume. Tighten feedback loops to sustain gains. Rush the sequence and you build on sand. Winners install systems, losers chase hacks. Winners measure inputs and iterate on schedule. They protect focus, honor guardrails, and seek boring reliability over dramatic sprints. They know consistency beats intensity every time. Losers worship intensity and ignore consistency. They redesign every week and never compound. They blame willpower instead of design. They chase the next hack, the next app, the next motivational video, and wonder why nothing sticks. The difference isn't talent, it's architecture. You've seen the problem. You know the cost of inaction. You have the map. Now it's time to build the foundation, starting with the principle that changes everything. system first. In the next chapter, you'll learn why mechanisms beat milestones, how to reverse engineer reliability, and the exact blueprint for designing a machine that runs whether you feel like it or not. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2, System First. You set a goal, write a book, launch a product, build a portfolio. The target is clear, the deadline is marked, and for the first 3 days you're on fire. Then life happens. A project at work explodes, your energy dips, the initial excitement fades. By week 2, the goal sits untouched, mocking you from your to-do list. Here's the truth most people miss. Goals are not the problem. The absence of a machine to hit them is. The reliability advantage. Think about the last time you hit a major milestone. Now ask yourself, was it a one-time surge of effort, or did you follow a repeatable process? If you're honest, the answer is probably a mix. Some luck, some hustle, some chaos. That's fine for occasional wins, but if you want predictable progress, chaos is your enemy. Systems create predictable output by doing one thing goals can't. They lower variance. A goal says, finish the proposal by Friday. A system says, write for 90 minutes every morning at 9 a.m. using the template in the Ready folder and review progress every Thursday at 4 p.m. The goal depends on motivation. The system runs whether you feel like it or not. Progress continues despite mood or chaos because the system doesn't care how you feel. It's a set of instructions, not a negotiation. Bad day, the system still fires. Distracted, the cues still trigger. Tired, the process still guides you to the next step. This is the shift from intensity to reliability. Intensity spikes and crashes. Reliability compounds. Scaling becomes possible when the system is documented. You can hand it to someone else. You can replicate it across projects. You can refine it without starting from scratch every time. Goals evaporate when you hit them. Systems keep running, producing result after result, week after week. But there's a deeper layer. Systems align with identity. When you say, I am someone who ships every week, you're not describing a goal, you're describing a process you run. That identity drives compliance far more effectively than willpower ever could. You don't skip the weekly review because skipping would contradict who you are. The system becomes part of your self-concept, and self-concept is one of the most powerful behavioral forces in existence. Public commitments amplify this effect. Tell a peer you run a weekly review every Thursday. Now there's social proof on the line. You're not just letting yourself down, you're breaking a visible pattern. Rituals reinforce the loop. The same start time, the same checklist, the same closeout routine. Each repetition strengthens the identity and makes the next cycle easier. Mechanisms beat milestones. So what does it mean to put the system first? It means defining the machine that produces results before you chase the results themselves. Most people do it backward. They pick a target, then scramble to figure out how to get there. That's reactive. System-first thinking is proactive. Design the engine, then let it run. Start by naming the process. Ship daily, deep work sprint, weekly pipeline review. A name makes it real. It turns a vague intention into a concrete thing you can point to, refine, and protect. Without a name, it's just another idea floating in your head, competing with 1,000 other ideas for attention. Next, establish explicit start and stop conditions. When does the system activate? What triggers it? When does it end? What signals completion? Vague boundaries kill consistency. I'll work on it when I have time is not a system. Every weekday at 10 a.m., I open the project file and work until 11:30 a.m., then I log what I finished and close the file is a system. The difference is night and day. The magic is in the constraints. By narrowing when, where, and how the work happens, you eliminate the micro decisions that drain energy. You don't wonder if today is a good day to start. The system says it's 10 a.m., so you start. You don't debate how long to work. The system says 11:30 a.m. is the stop time, so you stop. Constraints don't limit you, they liberate you from decision fatigue. the myths holding you back. Let's clear the air. You've been sold lies about how progress works, and those lies are costing you. Myth 1. Big goals create big results. The logic seems sound. Set an audacious target, and you'll stretch to meet it. But here's what actually happens. You get overwhelmed, procrastinate, then either abandon the goal or hit it once through unsustainable effort and never repeat the feat. Big goals are motivating for about 48 hours. Then they become anchors. The counter-truth. Small, repeatable actions create compounding results. Write 500 words a day, and you'll have a book in 6 months. Ship 1 feature a week, and you'll have a product in a quarter. The math is boring, but it's reliable. Compounding doesn't care about your mood. It just needs consistency. Myth 2. Discipline beats design. This one is seductive because it sounds virtuous. I just need more willpower. I need to be tougher. Wrong. Discipline is a finite resource. It depletes. Design, on the other hand, is a one-time investment that pays dividends forever. Build the right system and you won't need discipline. The system does the heavy lifting. Think about it. Which is easier, forcing yourself to resist distractions every single day, or setting up a distraction-free environment once and letting it do the work for you? Design reduces the need for discipline by making the right action the default action. Winners don't have more willpower. They have better systems. Myth 3. Intensity replaces consistency. This is the hustle culture trap. Work 16-hour days, grind until you break through, sprint harder. The problem? Intensity burns out. You can't sustain it, and when you crash, you lose all momentum. Consistency, on the other hand, compounds. Show up every day at 70% effort, and you'll outlast the person who shows up twice a month at 110%. The tortoise and hare metaphor exists for a reason. Slow and steady doesn't just win the race. It's the only strategy that scales over years and decades. Building your first system. Now let's get practical. You're going to build a system blueprint, a simple one-page document that defines your machine. Start with your North Star outcome. What's the one result you want this system to produce? Be specific, not get better at writing. Instead, publish 1 polished article every week. Not improve fitness. Instead, complete 3 45-minute sessions per week. 1 sentence, 1 clear target. Next, identify 3 controllable inputs, lead measures you can directly influence. These are not outcomes, they're actions. For the writing example, daily writing time, weekly editing sessions, and a submission checklist. For the fitness example, scheduled session times, workout completion rate, and recovery protocols. 3 inputs. No more. Complexity kills compliance. Now draft daily or weekly protocols for each input. What exactly happens, when does it happen, and in what order? For daily writing time, open the draft at 9 a.m., write for 60 minutes using the Pomodoro method, save progress, and note tomorrow's starting point. For weekly editing, every Thursday at 3 p.m., review the week's drafts, polish 1 to publication standard, and schedule it. Specificity removes ambiguity. Ambiguity invites procrastination. Assign a review cadence, weekly for active systems, quarterly for stable ones. During the review, ask 3 questions. What worked? What didn't? What will I change? Then run 1 small experiment for the next cycle. Keep what improves the system. Revert what doesn't. This is how systems evolve without collapsing into chaos. Finally, write an identity statement that matches the system. I am someone who ships every week. I am someone who protects deep work time. I am someone who finishes what I start. The statement anchors the system to your self-concept. It's not just a process you run, it's who you are. Here's the leverage point scan. Ask yourself, what 20% of steps drive 80% of results? Most systems have bloat, steps that feel productive but don't move the needle. Cut them, delegate them, automate them, keep only the essentials. Then codify those essentials in a checklist. 1 screen, no scrolling, instant clarity. Making it stick. Name your system. Ship weekly is better than writing routine. A name gives it weight. It becomes a thing you protect, not a vague habit you hope to maintain. Use 1-screen SOPs, standard operating procedures that fit on a single page. If you need to scroll to understand the process, it's too complex. Simplicity scales. Complexity crumbles. Cap your system scope. 3 inputs maximum. More than that, and you're building a bureaucracy, not a machine. 3 is enough to create momentum. More than 3 creates drag. What does good look like? One documented system for a single priority. You've defined the outcome, the inputs, the protocols, and the review cadence. You run it for a month and see measurable progress. Excellent? 2 integrated systems, one for work, one for personal, with weekly reviews that keep both aligned. You're not just managing tasks, you're managing your life as a coherent whole. Best? A unified personal operating system across all roles with clear SOPs. Work, health, relationships, learning, each has a system, and all systems feed into a single weekly review. You've become the operator of a well-oiled machine. When systems break, vague steps kill systems. Work on the project is not a step. Open the file, write 50 words, save and log progress is a step. If you can't execute it without thinking, it's too vague. Convert every fuzzy instruction into an atomic action. Overcomplexity is the silent killer. You add a step, then another, then a sub-step. Before long, the system is a labyrinth. Prune weekly. If a step hasn't been used in 14 days, delete it. Ruthlessly protect simplicity. No buy-in means the system won't survive contact with reality. If you don't believe in it, you'll skip it the first time life gets hard. Rework your identity statement until it resonates. Then make it public. Tell a peer, post it, put it somewhere visible. Accountability creates commitment. You've built the foundation. You know why systems beat goals, how to design a machine that runs on autopilot, and what traps to avoid. But a system without a structure to hold it is just another good intention. In the next chapter, you'll learn how to architect your day so that the system doesn't just exist on paper. It runs in the real world, every single day, whether you feel like it or not. Chapter 3, Day Architecture. Your calendar looks like a battlefield. Meetings scattered randomly, gaps too small to do real work, no clear start, no clean finish. You tell yourself you'll find time for deep work, but by 5 p.m. you've answered emails, attended calls, and moved nothing meaningful forward. Again, the problem isn't time, it's architecture. Why your day needs bones. Most people treat their calendar like a suggestion box, a place to dump appointments and hope for the best. But here's what actually happens. Without structure, your day fragments. Each task switch costs you. Not just the obvious time to shift gears, but the invisible recovery period where your brain is still processing the last thing while pretending to focus on the new thing. Context batching is the antidote. When you group similar tasks, all your deep work in one block, all your admin in another, all your meetings in a third, you reduce the switching tax. Your brain stays in one mode longer. Momentum builds instead of breaking. The difference between a fragmented day and a batch day is the difference between stop-and-go traffic and an open highway. Fixed windows protect what matters. If deep work doesn't have a dedicated slot, it won't happen. Something urgent will always crowd it out. But when you block 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for deep work and treat it like a non-negotiable meeting with yourself, suddenly that work gets done. The calendar becomes a forcing function. It enforces priorities so you don't have to fight for them every single day. Buffers prevent erosion. Ever notice how a 2-hour block shrinks to 90 minutes because the previous meeting ran long? Or how you can't start on time because you need 5 minutes to gather your thoughts? Buffers absorb those frictions. A 10-minute gap before deep work gives you time to reset. A 15-minute gap after gives you time to close loops without bleeding into the next block. Without buffers, your blocks collapse like dominoes. The blueprint: repeatable days, predictable wins. Day architecture isn't about rigidity, it's about rhythm. You're designing a template, a repeatable structure that adapts to reality without collapsing into chaos. The goal is a week where 80% of days follow the plan, not 100%. Perfection kills consistency. Rhythm sustains it. Start with peak mapping. Your energy isn't constant. You have windows where focus comes easy and windows where it's a fight. Most people ignore this and wonder why they can't concentrate at 3 p.m. Instead, track your energy at 4 set times each day for a week: morning, midday, afternoon, evening. Rate it on a simple scale: high, medium, low. Patterns will emerge. Once you see your peaks, place your deep work there. If you're sharpest from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., that's when you tackle the hardest, most leveraged tasks. If you fade after lunch, that's when you batch admin, emails, scheduling, light reviews. If you get a second wind in the evening, use it for planning or creative exploration. The point is alignment. Match task difficulty to energy availability. Swim with the current, not against it. Recovery windows stabilize output. You can't sprint all day. Your brain needs breaks to consolidate learning, process information, and reset attention. Build short renewal blocks into your template, 10 minutes between major blocks, a longer break midday. These aren't luxuries, they're performance insurance. Skip them and your error rate climbs. Honor them and your throughput stays high all week. Start and stop rituals close loops. A ritual is a sequence of small actions that signal a transition. Before a deep work block, you might close all tabs, open the project file, and write the first sentence. That's your open the block checklist. It takes 60 seconds, but it shifts your brain into work mode. At the end of the block, you save your progress, note the next step, and close the file. That's your land the plane checklist. It prevents the mental residue that leaks into the next task. Meeting caps and no-fly zones protect your architecture from drift. Without limits, meetings expand to fill all available space. Set hard caps, no more than 3 meetings per day, no more than 10 per week. Require agendas for every meeting. Decline by default unless the value is clear. Then designate no-fly zones, times when meetings are off limits. If 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. is your deep work block, it's sacred. No exceptions. The calendar enforces the boundary so you don't have to negotiate it every time someone asks for just 15 minutes. The lies you've been told. Let's dismantle the myths that keep you stuck in calendar chaos. Myth 1. Creative work needs chaos. The romantic image of the artist waiting for inspiration, working in bursts, thriving in disorder. It's seductive. It's also wrong. Creativity doesn't need chaos. It needs constraints. When you have clear boundaries, your brain stops wasting energy on when should I work and how long should this take, and focuses entirely on the work itself. Constraints channel creativity. Chaos dilutes it. Myth 2. Full calendars kill freedom. This one sounds logical. If every hour is blocked, where's the spontaneity? Where's the flexibility? But here's the paradox. Clear blocks create freedom later. When you protect deep work in the morning, you finish faster. When you finish faster, you have real free time in the evening, not the fake free time where you're too drained to do anything meaningful. Structure now buys freedom later. Chaos now guarantees stress later. Myth 3. I'll just fit it in. This is the most dangerous lie because it feels reasonable. You don't need to schedule everything. You'll find pockets of time. You'll squeeze it in, except you won't. Unscheduled work rarely happens. It gets pushed by the urgent, the visible, the loud. If it's not on the calendar, it's not real. And if it's not real, it won't get done. Building your template. Now let's design your day. You're going to create 4 types of blocks: deep, admin, collaboration, and renewal. Deep blocks are for high-leverage, cognitively demanding work. Writing, strategy, design, problem-solving. These blocks go in your energy peaks. They're protected by buffers and no-fly zones. They have clear start and stop rituals, and they're non-negotiable. 2 deep blocks per day is the minimum viable target. 3 is excellent. 4 is elite. Admin blocks handle the necessary but low-leverage tasks: email, scheduling, expense reports, light reviews. These go in your energy troughs. Batch them tightly. Don't let admin bleed into deep work. Set a timer. When the block ends, you stop, even if the inbox isn't empty. Admin expands to fill available time. Constrain it. Collaboration blocks are for meetings, calls, and real-time coordination. Cluster them together when possible. Back-to-back meetings are more efficient than scattered ones because you stay in interaction mode. But cap the total: 3 meetings per day max, 10 per week max. Beyond that, you're not collaborating. You're context switching yourself into ineffectiveness. Renewal blocks are short breaks that reset your system. A 10-minute walk, a brief meditation, a change of scenery. These aren't optional. They're the shock absorbers that keep your performance stable across the week. Without them, you burn out by Wednesday. Add buffers before and after deep blocks. 10 to 15 minutes is enough. Use them to transition, gather materials, or decompress. Buffers prevent the cascade effect, where one delay ruins the entire day. Set 2 alarms per block, one to start, one to stop. The start alarm is your cue. The stop alarm is your guardrail. It prevents deep work from bleeding into the next block and protects your energy for the rest of the day. Batch communication twice daily. Check email and messages at fixed times, once mid-morning, once mid-afternoon. Outside those windows, silence notifications. Deep work demands uninterrupted focus. Every ping is a micro-interruption that fractures attention. Silence is a competitive advantage. Use theme days to cluster similar work. Mondays for planning and strategy. Tuesdays and Thursdays for deep execution. Wednesdays for collaboration. Fridays for review and cleanup. Themes reduce decision fatigue and create natural rhythms. Your brain knows what mode to enter based on the day. What success looks like. Good means 2 protected deep work blocks per day. You've carved out the time, you're honoring the boundaries, and you're seeing progress on high-leverage work. That alone puts you ahead of 90% of knowledge workers. Excellent means a full weekly template that you follow more than 80% of days. You've mapped your peaks, designed your blocks, and built the rituals that make it all run smoothly. Your calendar is a machine. It enforces priorities automatically. Best means your team aligns to your architecture. Meetings fit your cadence. Colleagues respect your no-fly zones. You've trained your environment to support your system instead of fighting it. You're not just managing your time, you're shaping how others interact with it. When architecture fails, block erosion happens when buffers disappear and meetings creep into protected time. Fix it by adding 10 to 15-minute buffers before and after every deep block. Enforce stop rituals religiously. If a meeting runs long, end it anyway. Protect the next block. Meeting creep happens when you say yes too often. Fix it by setting hard caps and requiring agendas. No agenda, no meeting. Decline by default unless the value is crystal clear. Your calendar is not a democracy. Energy misfit happens when you place the wrong work in the wrong windows. Fix it by reassigning tasks to match your peaks and troughs. If deep work at 2 p.m. feels like pushing a boulder uphill, move it to 9 a.m. Swap block timing until the fit is natural. You've built the structure. Your day has bones. Your calendar enforces priorities. But structure without the right triggers is just a pretty plan. In the next chapter, you'll discover how to install the small, powerful routines that turn your architecture into automatic action. The kind that runs whether you're motivated or not. Chapter 4, Habit Engine. You've built the system. You've architected your day. The calendar looks perfect. Then Monday arrives and you stare at the deep work block, hesitating. Should you start with the hard task or ease in with something lighter? Which file do you open first? What if you're not in the right headspace? 5 minutes of deliberation later, the block has shrunk and momentum never materializes. The missing piece isn't willpower, it's automation. The power of automatic action. Here's what most people misunderstand about habits. They think habits are about discipline, about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. Wrong. Habits are about removing the need to decide. When a behavior becomes automatic, it bypasses the part of your brain that hesitates, negotiates, and procrastinates. It just happens. The decision load drops to near zero. You don't wonder if today is the day to start. You don't debate whether you have enough energy. The cue fires, the routine executes, the reward lands. Loop complete. No drama, no internal argument, just action. Reliable starts defeat hesitation. The hardest part of any task is the first step. Once you're moving, momentum takes over. But getting started requires activation energy, a spark to overcome inertia. Habits provide that spark automatically. When the cue is clear and the first action is tiny, you move before you can think yourself out of it. The real magic happens when habits cascade. One good habit doesn't just improve one area, it triggers a chain reaction across multiple domains. A 3-minute planning habit at the start of your day clarifies priorities, which improves focus, which increases output, which boosts confidence, which makes the next day's planning easier. One keystone, many effects. Keystones and chains. Not all habits are created equal. Some are maintenance. They keep things from falling apart. Others are transformative. They change everything downstream. We're hunting the transformative ones, the keystones that unlock entire systems. A keystone habit is a behavior that, when installed, makes other behaviors easier or automatic. It's the first domino. Push it, and the rest fall in sequence. The trick is choosing few and placing them well. Most people try to build 10 habits at once and fail at all of them. Winners pick 3, place them strategically, and let the cascade do the work. Anchoring to existing cues is the secret. Your brain already has stable triggers. Waking up, sitting at your desk, closing your laptop. These are reliable moments that happen every day without fail. Attach a new habit to one of these anchors, and you inherit the reliability. The anchor becomes the cue. The cue fires the routine. The routine becomes automatic. Habit stacking exploits proximity. After I sit at my desk, I open my project file. After I open my project file, I write the first sentence. After I write the first sentence, I set a timer for 45 minutes. Each action triggers the next. The chain is stronger than any single link because the sequence becomes one unified behavior. You don't think about step 2. Step 1 pulls you into it. Reward immediacy locks the loop. Your brain learns through association. Cue leads to action. Action leads to reward. But the reward has to be immediate. Delayed rewards don't register. If you finish a deep work block and the only reward is, maybe I'll ship something next week, your brain won't encode the loop. But if you finish the block, check a box, and take a 2-minute break, the loop locks. The check mark is instant feedback. The break is instant relief. The habit sticks. The lies about building habits. Let's kill the myths that sabotage habit formation before they sabotage you. Myth 1. More habits equal more progress. This is the productivity porn trap. Build a morning routine with 15 steps. Track 20 behaviors. Optimize everything. The result? You spend more time managing the system than running it. Bloat kills compliance. The more habits you try to maintain, the higher the chance you'll drop them all when life gets chaotic. 3 solid keystones beat 15 fragile routines every time. Myth 2. Motivation precedes habit. People wait to feel ready before starting a new routine. They think motivation is the fuel. It's not. Action is the fuel. Motivation is the exhaust. You don't wait to feel motivated. You act, and motivation follows. The first rep is hard. The second is easier. By the 10th, you're in flow. Start tiny, start now, and let the action generate the feeling. Myth 3. Missing once kills the streak. This is the perfectionist's curse. You hit the habit for 12 days straight, miss on day 13, and declare the whole thing ruined. So you quit. But here's the truth. Consistency isn't perfection. It's resilience. Missing once doesn't break the system. Quitting does. Build error budgets into your habits. Expect to miss occasionally. Plan for it. Then get back on track the next day without guilt or drama. Building your keystone set. Now let's get tactical. You're going to identify your bottlenecks, select 3 keystone habits, and install them with surgical precision. Start by listing your current bottlenecks. Where does your system break down? Most people have 3 recurring failure points: starting, sustaining focus, and reviewing progress. You hesitate at the beginning of deep work. You drift mid-block. You skip the weekly review. These are your leverage points. Fix these, and everything else improves. Pick 3 habits that directly remove those bottlenecks. For starting, a 30-second open the block routine. Sit down, close all tabs, open the project file, write the first sentence. That's it. For sustaining focus, a mid-block reset. At the 25-minute mark, stand up, take 3 deep breaths, note your progress, sit back down. For reviewing, a fixed weekly appointment. Every Friday at 4 p.m., you review the week's wins, losses, and adjustments. Calendar locked, non-negotiable. Now write the cue, the first 30 seconds, and the instant reward for each habit. The cue is the trigger. Sitting at your desk, the alarm going off, closing your laptop. The first 30 seconds is the minimum viable action, so small you can't say no. The reward is the immediate payoff, a check mark, a short break, a visible log entry. This is the anatomy of a habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. Simple, repeatable, automatic. Attach each new habit to a stable anchor. The morning planning habit attaches to sitting at your desk. The deep work start routine attaches to the 9 a.m. alarm. The weekly review attaches to the Friday calendar block. You're not creating new triggers, you're hijacking existing ones. This is how you build without adding cognitive load. Keep routines frictionless. Prep the night before. If the morning planning habit requires a notebook, leave it open on your desk. If the deep work routine requires a specific file, pin it to your desktop. If the weekly review needs a template, keep it in a ready-to-start folder. Every second of friction increases the chance you'll skip. Every second you remove increases the chance you'll execute. Log completion in a simple visible tracker, a paper checklist, a spreadsheet, a habit app. It doesn't matter what you use. What matters is that you see progress. Each checkmark is a micro reward. Each week of checkmarks is proof the system works. Visibility creates accountability. Accountability drives compliance. The weekly tune-up. Habits aren't set and forget. They need maintenance. Every week, score each habit. Did you do it today? Yes or no? 1 or 0, no partial credit. At the end of the week, calculate compliance. If you're above 80%, the habit is stable. Keep running it. If you're below 80%, something's broken. When compliance drops, you have 2 options: shrink the habit or adjust the cue. If the 30-second routine feels too long, cut it to 15 seconds. If the cue isn't obvious, make it louder. Set an alarm, put a sticky note on your monitor, move the trigger closer to the action site. The goal is to make the habit so easy and so visible that skipping it feels harder than doing it. Celebrate small wins. This isn't fluff, it's neuroscience. Your brain needs positive reinforcement to encode the loop. When you hit a week of perfect compliance, acknowledge it. When you stack 3 habits successfully, mark the milestone. When the routine starts to feel automatic, notice that shift. Celebration isn't about ego, it's about locking the learning. Refine your identity statement as the habits solidify. I am someone who starts deep work at 9 a.m. I am someone who reviews progress every Friday. I am someone who ships consistently. The statement isn't aspirational, it's descriptive. You're not hoping to become that person. You already are, because the behavior proves it. Making habits stick. Use a starter pistol to mark go time, a specific sound, a visual cue, a physical gesture. Serena Williams bounces the ball exactly 5 times before every serve. Same count, same rhythm, same result. The routine stabilizes performance under pressure. You can do the same. A 2-note chime to start deep work, a hand clap to close the block, a specific phrase to open the review. The cue becomes unmistakable. The brain knows what comes next. Pair habits with a tiny dopamine hit. The checkmark is one option. A short break is another. A quick stretch, a sip of water, a glance at your progress tracker. The hit doesn't have to be big, it just has to be immediate. Immediate rewards wire the loop faster than delayed ones. Keep cues unmistakable. Same place, same time, same trigger. Variability kills automaticity. If the morning planning habit happens at 8 a.m. on Monday, 9 a.m. on Tuesday, and whenever I get around to it on Wednesday, it won't stick. Lock the time, lock the place, lock the trigger. Repetition builds the neural pathway. Consistency strengthens it. What winning looks like. Good means one stable keystone habit sustained for 21 days or more. You've proven the loop works. You've built the foundation. That single habit is now automatic, and you're ready to add the next. Excellent means 3 stacked keystone habits powering your daily flow. Morning planning launches the day. Deep work start routine defeats hesitation. Weekly review closes the loop. The habits work together, each reinforcing the others, creating a system that runs with minimal oversight. Best means a habit chain that reliably launches your entire day. You wake up, the first cue fires, and the sequence unfolds automatically. Planning, execution, review, all triggered by the initial anchor. You're not managing habits anymore. You're operating a machine. When habits break, cues that aren't obvious get ignored. If you can't see the trigger, you won't respond to it. Fix this by making cues louder and more visible. Set alarms. Use physical objects. Relocate the cue to the exact site of action. If the deep work routine starts at your desk, put the cue on your desk, not on your phone. Steps that are too big create resistance. If the first action feels like work, you'll procrastinate. Fix this by reducing to 30-second starts. Strip the routine to the minimum viable action. Open the file, write one sentence. That's it. Once you start, momentum takes over. But the start has to be frictionless. Rewards that are too distant don't register. If the payoff is weeks away, your brain won't encode the loop. Fix this by adding immediate micro-rewards, a check mark, a visible log entry, a 2-minute break. The reward doesn't have to be big, it just has to be now. You've installed the engine. The habits fire automatically. The loops are locked. But even the best habits can't overcome a cluttered, chaotic environment. In the next chapter, you'll learn how to eliminate the invisible drag that's slowing you down, the friction hiding in every click, every file, every moment between intention and action. Chapter 5, Friction Control. You sit down to write. The intention is clear. The time is blocked. The habit is cued. Then you realize the document is buried 3 folders deep. You need to find last week's notes. Your password manager isn't loading. 2 browser tabs are frozen. By the time you're ready to type the first word, 7 minutes have evaporated and your focus has fractured. This isn't a discipline problem, it's a friction problem. The hidden tax on every action. Most people blame themselves when they don't start fast. They think they're procrastinating, lacking focus, or just not motivated enough. But here's what's actually happening. Every extra step between intention and action is a tax. A small one, maybe. But taxes compound. And by the time you've paid the full bill, finding files, logging in, clearing clutter, remembering where you left off, the spark is gone. Starts determine finishes. The faster you move from I should do this to I'm doing this, the more you ship. It's not about working longer. It's about eliminating the lag between decision and execution. When the gap is wide, hesitation fills it. When the gap is narrow, momentum fills it. Small frictions multiply across the day. One extra click doesn't sound like much. But if you start 5 tasks a day and each one has 3 unnecessary clicks, that's 15 micro-interruptions. Each interruption breaks flow. Each break costs recovery time. By the end of the week, you've lost hours to invisible drag. Lower friction beats higher motivation every single time. You can psych yourself up all you want, but if the path to action is cluttered with obstacles, you'll stall. Motivation is a feeling, friction is physics, and physics always wins. The solution isn't to get more motivated, it's to remove the resistance. The spark cost. Every behavior has an activation energy, the minimum effort required to start. In chemistry, activation energy determines reaction rates. In human behavior, it determines execution rates. Lower the activation energy and the behavior happens more often. Raise it and the behavior dies. This is why you scroll social media more than you write. Scrolling is one tap. Writing requires opening an app, finding a file, remembering your last thought, and generating the next sentence. The activation energy for scrolling is near zero. The activation energy for writing is high. Your brain defaults to the path of least resistance. Always. Friction mapping exposes the invisible barriers. Most people have no idea how many steps stand between intention and action because they've never counted. But when you diagram the path, write down every click, every search, every login, every decision, the waste becomes obvious. And once it's obvious, you can cut it. The goal is simple. Remove steps, merge steps, or pre-do steps. If a step can be deleted without losing value, delete it. If 2 steps can be combined into one, combine them. If a step can be done once and reused forever, do it now and never do it again. The lies keeping you slow. Let's dismantle the myths that keep friction high and start slow. Myth 1. I just need more willpower. This is the default excuse. If I were stronger, more disciplined, more committed, I'd push through the friction. Wrong. Willpower is a limited resource that depletes with use. Friction is a structural problem that persists until you fix it. You don't need more willpower, you need less resistance. Design the path and willpower becomes irrelevant. Myth 2. Prep time doesn't matter. People dismiss setup as trivial. It's just a few seconds to find the file. just a minute to log in, just a quick search for the reference material. But setup time kills momentum. The longer you spend preparing, the more likely you are to get distracted, second-guess yourself, or abandon the task entirely. Prep time isn't trivial. It's the difference between starting and stalling. Myth 3. One extra step is nothing. This is the most dangerous lie because it sounds reasonable. One extra click won't hurt. One extra folder won't slow you down. One extra login won't matter. Except it does, because one extra step becomes 2. 2 becomes 5. 5 becomes a maze, and mazes don't get navigated, they get avoided. Mapping the drag. Now let's hunt the friction. You're going to diagram the path from intention to first keystroke for your most important task. Write down every single step. Be ruthlessly specific. Don't skip the obvious ones. Those are usually where the friction hides. Start with intention. You decide to work on the project. What happens next? Do you open a specific app, or do you search for it? Do you know which file to open, or do you browse? Do you remember where you left off, or do you scroll to find your place? Each question reveals a potential delay. Time each step. Use a stopwatch. How long does it take to find the app? To locate the file? To load the document? To remember your last thought? Most people guess. Guessing is useless. Timing is data, and data shows you where the bottlenecks are. Mark the slow or error-prone moments. Where do you hesitate? Where do you get stuck? Where do you have to think instead of act? These are your high-friction points. They're costing you time, focus, and momentum, and they're fixable. Now delete, combine, or automate the biggest delays. If finding the file takes 30 seconds, pin it to your desktop. If logging in takes 20 seconds, use single sign-on or save credentials. If remembering your last thought takes a minute, add a next step note at the end of every session. Each cut reduces activation energy. Each reduction increases execution rate. Building zero-resistance starts. One-click starts are the gold standard. The ideal is this. You sit down, you click once, and the work environment loads instantly. No searching, no setup, no decisions, just action. Create launch files for your core workflows. A launch file is a document, script, or shortcut that opens everything you need in one move. For writing, it might open your text editor, load the current draft, and display your outline in a side panel. For design, it might launch your software, load the project file, and set your workspace to the exact configuration you need. One click. Full setup, zero friction. Templates skip the setup phase entirely. Instead of starting from a blank page every time, you start from a pre-built structure. Email templates for common responses. Document templates for recurring reports. Project templates for standard workflows. Templates don't just save time. They eliminate the cognitive load of, how do I start this? Pre-authenticate logins wherever possible. Use single sign-on. Save passwords securely. Enable biometric access. Every login screen is a barrier. Every barrier increases the chance you'll bail. Remove the barriers. Keep a next 3 starts list visible at all times. This is a simple note, digital or physical, that shows the exact next action for your top 3 priorities, not work on the proposal. Instead, open proposal draft v3.docs and write the executive summary. Specificity kills hesitation. Vagueness feeds it. Staging for speed. Cache and stage your resources. Caching means keeping frequently used materials preloaded and ready. Staging means placing them at the exact moment and location you'll need them. Keep a ready-to-start folder on your desktop. This folder contains only the files, links, and resources for your current top priorities. Nothing else. No archives, no maybes, just the essentials. When you sit down to work, you open the folder and everything you need is there. Stage materials at the exact work site. If you write at your desk, keep the notebook there. If you design on a specific device, keep the stylus charged and within reach. If you code in a particular environment, keep the terminal open and authenticated. The goal is to eliminate the gap between sitting down and starting work. Reset to ready at the end of each block. This is the secret to sustained speed. When you finish a session, don't just close the file and walk away. Spend 60 seconds resetting. Save your progress, note the next step, close unnecessary tabs, and stage the materials for tomorrow. When you return, You're not starting cold, you're resuming a prepped environment. Tricks for instant action. Record a 30-second start macro for complex tasks. If your workflow involves multiple steps, open this app, load that file, configure these settings, record it once as a screenflow or script, then replay it with one command. Automation isn't just for coders, it's for anyone who repeats the same sequence more than twice. Use hotkeys and text expanders for repetitive actions. If you type the same phrases, use a text expander to insert them with a shortcut. If you perform the same clicks, assign them to hotkeys. Every repetition is an opportunity to eliminate friction. Every elimination is a speed gain. Cap your tools. One tool per job. No duplicates. Tool sprawl is friction in disguise. When you have 3 note-taking apps, 2 project managers, and 4 communication platforms, every task starts with a decision. Which tool do I use? Decision fatigue is friction. Consolidate ruthlessly. Pick the best tool for each job and archive the rest. What success looks like. Good means 25% faster start times on your core tasks. You've mapped the friction, cut the obvious delays, and you're moving from intention to action noticeably quicker. That alone compounds into hours saved per week. Excellent means one-click starts for your top 3 workflows. You've built launch files, templates, and staging systems. When you sit down to work, the environment loads instantly. No searching, no setup, just execution. Best means your start-to-ship pipeline runs in under 60 minutes for priority work. From the moment you decide to tackle a task to the moment you deliver the first meaningful output, the entire cycle is fast, clean, and repeatable. You're not just reducing friction, you've eliminated it. When friction creeps back, tool sprawl is the silent killer. You add a new app to try it out, then another, then another. Before long, you're juggling 6 platforms and none of them talk to each other. Fix this by consolidating to a coherent stack. 1 tool per function. Archive duplicates. Ruthlessly protect simplicity. Over-optimization is the opposite trap. You spend more time optimizing the system than running it. You tweak, refine, and perfect until the friction reduction process itself becomes friction. Fix this by rechecking ROI monthly. If a change saves less than 5 minutes per week, skip it. Stop when gains flatten. Hidden friction resurfaces over time. You cut the obvious delays, but new ones creep in. A file gets moved, a login expires, a step gets added without you noticing. Fix this by timing your starts weekly. Run a fresh friction map every month. Cut again. The war on drag is never over. It's a maintenance routine. You've cleared the path. Starts are fast. Momentum is high. But even the fastest starts can't overcome a chaotic environment. In the next chapter, you'll discover how to turn your physical and digital spaces into silent systems that guide you toward the right action, without you having to think about it. Chapter 6, Environment Design. You walk into your workspace. 3 coffee mugs from yesterday. Sticky notes covering half the monitor. 15 browser tabs open. A phone buzzing with notifications. A pile of papers you meant to file last week. You sit down with good intentions, but before you type a single word, your brain is already processing 100 irrelevant signals. The problem isn't you, it's the room. The silent script. Here's what most people miss. Your environment is always teaching you. Every object in your field of view is a cue. Every notification is a prompt. Every visible distraction is an invitation to drift. You think you're making conscious choices about where to focus, but your brain is actually responding to the loudest signals in the space. And if the loudest signals are chaos, chaos is what you'll get. Spaces cue action more reliably than plans. You can write the perfect to-do list, but if you sit down in a space designed for browsing, you'll browse. If you work in a zone cluttered with unfinished tasks, you'll feel scattered. If your desk whispers, "Check your phone," you'll check your phone. The environment doesn't care about your intentions. It just broadcasts cues, and you respond. Visual noise taxes working memory. Your brain has limited bandwidth for holding information. When your workspace is cluttered, physically or digitally, part of that bandwidth gets consumed by processing irrelevant stimuli. You're not consciously thinking about the stack of papers or the open tabs, but your brain is tracking them. That tracking costs energy you could be using for actual work. Defaults drive daily distributions of effort. If your computer opens to email, you'll start with email. If your desk faces a window with foot traffic, you'll get distracted by movement. If your phone is within arm's reach, you'll reach for it. The default state of your environment determines the default state of your behavior. Change the defaults. Change the behavior. Your space as operating system. Think of your environment as an interface, a control panel that either guides you toward productive action or tempts you toward distraction. The best interfaces are invisible. They don't demand attention. They just make the right action obvious and the wrong action inconvenient. Zones by task is the foundation. You wouldn't use the same room for sleeping and exercising. The cues conflict. The same logic applies to work. A space optimized for deep focus shouldn't also be optimized for communication. A zone for creative exploration shouldn't double as a zone for admin. Each task needs its own context, its own set of cues, its own environmental signature. Single-purpose setups remove choice. When you sit in the deep work zone, there's only one thing to do: deep work. The tools are staged, the distractions are hidden, the cues all point in the same direction. You don't have to decide what to focus on. The space decides for you. This isn't limiting, it's liberating. Decision fatigue drops. Execution speed rises. Visible pipelines and progress indicators keep you oriented. A simple board showing what's in progress, what's next, and what's done gives you instant clarity. You don't have to remember where you are in the process, you just look. The visibility creates accountability and momentum. Each completed item is a micro-win. Each visible next step is a prompt to keep moving. The lies about workspaces. Let's kill the myths that keep your environment working against you. Myth 1. I can focus anywhere. This is the badge of honor people wear when they work from coffee shops, airports, or couches. The truth? You can survive anywhere. But thriving requires control. A chaotic environment forces your brain to work harder to maintain focus. A designed environment does the focusing for you. You're not weak if you need a good workspace. You're smart. Myth 2. Clutter is creative. The romantic image of the messy genius, surrounded by piles of books and scattered notes, bursting with ideas. It's a myth. Clutter isn't creative, it's cognitive drag. Creativity needs space to breathe. When your environment is overloaded, your brain spends energy managing the chaos instead of generating ideas. Clear the clutter, and the ideas flow faster. Myth 3. Notifications are harmless. Just a quick glance, just a little buzz, just a badge count. Except each notification is a microfracture in your attention. Even if you don't respond, your brain registers the interruption. The cost isn't the 2 seconds to glance, it's the 20 minutes to rebuild deep focus afterward. Notifications aren't harmless. They're silent killers of sustained thought. Building your zones. Now let's design the environment. You're going to create distinct zones, physical or digital, that cue specific behaviors. Start by assigning each zone one job and one start cue. The deep work zone is for cognitively demanding tasks. The start cue might be sitting in a specific chair, putting on headphones, or opening a particular app. The admin zone is for low-leverage tasks like email and scheduling. The start cue might be switching to a different browser profile or moving to a different part of the room. The collaboration zone is for meetings and real-time communication. The start cue might be opening your calendar or joining a video call. Remove off-mission items from each zone. If the deep work zone contains your phone will pull focus. If the admin zone contains your creative tools, you'll get distracted by ideas when you should be clearing tasks. Each zone should contain only what's needed for its job. Everything else is noise. Add a visible checklist for open and close rituals. When you enter the deep work zone, the checklist reminds you: close email, silence notifications, open the project file, set the timer. When you exit, the checklist prompts: save progress, note next step, reset the space. The checklist removes the need to remember. The space itself tells you what to do. Digital architecture. Your digital environment is just as important as your physical one. Maybe more, because that's where most knowledge work happens. Separate profiles for deep work versus communication. Use different browser profiles, different app configurations, different desktop layouts. When you're in deep work mode, the profile loads with only the tools you need: your editor, your reference materials, your project files. No email, no Slack, no social media. When you switch to communication mode, the profile loads with messaging apps and collaboration tools. The separation is instant and absolute, no willpower required. Block distracting sites inside deep blocks. Use browser extensions or system-level tools to make certain sites inaccessible during designated times. If you can't visit the site, you can't get distracted by it. Simple, effective, non-negotiable. Preload project templates on launch. When you open your deep work profile, the environment should be ready to go. The document is open, the outline is visible, the resources are loaded. You're not starting from scratch. You're resuming a prepped workspace. The faster you go from login to first keystroke, the less chance hesitation has to creep in. Placement and proximity. Salience and proximity are the levers. What's visible gets attention. What's close gets used. What's buried gets ignored. Put essential tools within one reach or one click. The notebook you use daily should be on your desk, not in a drawer. The app you launch every morning should be pinned to your taskbar, not buried in a folder. The file you're working on should be on your desktop, not 3 directories deep. Every extra step is friction. Every reach is a decision point. Minimize both. Bury temptations behind delays or extra steps. If you want to reduce phone usage, put the phone in another room. If you want to avoid social media, log out after every session so you have to re-enter credentials. If you want to stop checking email compulsively, close the app and require a manual launch. The goal isn't to eliminate temptation. It's to make yielding to it inconvenient enough that you pause and reconsider. Use a large, simple dashboard with lead metrics only. A single screen that shows your key inputs: deep work minutes logged, tasks shipped this week, compliance with your keystone habits. No vanity metrics, no clutter, just the numbers that matter. The dashboard is always visible. It's a constant reminder of what you're building and how you're tracking. Small tweaks, big shifts. The 2-screen rule keeps things clean. 1 screen for the work itself, 1 screen for reference materials or supporting tools. That's it. No 3rd screen for email. No 4th for chat. 2 screens, 2 purposes, 0 distractions. Headphones as a physical do not disturb signal. Even if you're not listening to anything, wearing headphones tells others you're in focus mode. It's a visible boundary. People respect it. And if you are listening, instrumental music, white noise, or silence, it creates an auditory bubble that blocks ambient distractions. A 24-hour delay bin for non-urgent distractions. When something pulls your attention mid-block, an idea, a task, a question, don't act on it. Write it down and drop it in the delay bin. Review the bin once a day. Most items will feel less urgent 24 hours later. The ones that still matter get scheduled. The rest get deleted. The delay bin protects your focus without losing valuable inputs. What winning looks like. Good means fewer interruptions per hour and cleaner starts. You've removed the obvious distractions, staged your tools, and created basic boundaries. The environment is no longer actively working against you. Excellent means a dedicated deep work zone and a visible pipeline board. You've designed a space, physical or digital, that cues focus automatically. The pipeline board shows your progress at a glance. You're not just managing tasks, you're managing context. Best means a life operating system. Every space and every device is optimized for a specific mode: deep work, admin, collaboration, renewal. Each zone has its own cues, its own tools, its own rituals. You move between them seamlessly. The environment drives behavior by default. You're not fighting for focus, you're operating a machine. When environments break, over-minimalism is the first trap. You strip everything away in pursuit of purity, but then you lose the cues you actually need. The checklist that reminded you to start, the dashboard that showed your progress, the visible next step list. Fix this by reintroducing needed cues and checklists. Minimalism isn't about emptiness, it's about essentialism. Shared spaces create conflict. You don't control the room. Other people use it. Their stuff invades your zone. Fix this with a portable work kit, a bag or box that contains everything you need. When you sit down, you deploy the kit. When you finish, you pack it up. The kit creates a temporary zone anywhere. Notification relapse happens slowly. You silence notifications for a week, then one app sneaks back, then another. Before long, the buzzing is constant again. Fix this with a quarterly audit. Review every app, every alert, every permission. Kill anything non-essential. Use a one-tap kill switch to silence everything during deep blocks. You've shaped the stage. The environment cues the right actions and buries the wrong ones. But even the best environment can't save you from bad decisions. In the next chapter, you'll learn how to offload the routine choices that drain your focus so you can save your best thinking for the problems that actually matter. Chapter 7. Decision Systems. You wake up and immediately face a barrage of micro-choices. Which task first? Should you respond to that email now or later? Is this meeting worth attending? Does this request deserve immediate attention or can it wait? By 10 a.m., you've made 50 small decisions and your brain is already tired. The deep work you planned? It feels harder than it should because you've spent your cognitive budget on trivia. The problem isn't the decisions themselves. It's that you're making the same ones over and over. The attention budget. Here's the reality. Your working memory is finite. Every decision, no matter how small, consumes a slice of that capacity. Should I check email now? That's a decision. Should I accept this meeting? Another decision. Should I prioritize task A or task B? Decision. By the time you reach the work that actually matters, you're running on fumes. Every choice drains attention, not just the big strategic calls, but the tiny operational ones. The accumulation is what kills you. One decision feels weightless. 50 decisions feel like a fog, and in that fog, you make worse calls, miss important details, and default to whatever feels easiest instead of what's actually right. Offloading preserves energy for hard problems. When you remove routine decisions from your daily load, you free up bandwidth. That bandwidth can then be directed toward the problems that genuinely require judgment, the creative leaps, the strategic pivots, the nuanced trade-offs. These are the decisions that move the needle. Everything else is noise. Consistency beats occasional brilliance. You don't need to be a genius every day. You need to be reliable. A system that produces good results predictably will outperform sporadic bursts of excellence every single time. And the way to achieve that consistency is to stop reinventing the wheel. Decide once, codify it, run it. Protocols over pondering. What if you could make most of your decisions in advance? What if the answer to "should I do this" was already written down, waiting for you to execute it without thinking? That's what decision systems do. They convert recurring choices into standing rules, checklists for repeated tasks, if-then scripts for common branches, thresholds that trigger yes or no without debate. The goal isn't to eliminate thinking, it's to eliminate rethinking. Checklists are the simplest form. Pilots use them, surgeons use them, not because they're incompetent, but because they're professionals. A checklist ensures that nothing gets missed when you're tired, distracted, or under pressure. It's a forcing function for consistency. You don't have to remember every step. The checklist remembers for you. If-then scripts handle branching logic. If the request is urgent and high impact, respond immediately. If it's urgent but low impact, delegate. If it's neither urgent nor high impact, defer to Friday's review. The script removes the deliberation. You match the situation to the rule and execute. No hesitation, no second guessing. Thresholds create binary clarity. If the task takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. If it takes more, schedule it. If the meeting has no agenda, decline. If the email thread exceeds 3 replies, escalate to a call. Thresholds turn fuzzy judgment calls into clean yes or no decisions. The line is drawn. You just have to check which side you're on. The lies about automation. Let's dismantle the myths that keep you drowning in decisions. Myth 1. Automation makes you robotic. People fear that rules and protocols will strip away creativity and spontaneity. The opposite is true. Automation makes you consistent, which frees you to be creative where it counts. When the routine is handled, you have space for the novel. When the basics run on autopilot, you can focus on the breakthroughs. Myth 2. I decide best in the moment. This sounds wise. Trust your gut. Read the room. Adapt on the fly. But here's what actually happens. In the moment, you're tired, biased, and influenced by whatever just happened. You're not making optimal decisions. You're guessing. And guesses vary. A pre-decided rule, tested and refined over time, beats a tired guess every single time. Myth 3. Checklists are for beginners. This is ego talking. The belief that once you're experienced, you don't need reminders. But the best operators in the world, pilots landing planes, surgeons performing operations, engineers launching rockets, all use checklists. Not because they're beginners, but because they're pros. Checklists don't make you basic, they make you reliable at scale. Building your decision inventory. Now let's get practical. You're going to map your recurring decisions and convert them into systems. Start by listing the top 20 choices you make repeatedly this month. Not the one-off strategic decisions, but the ones that show up again and again. Should I attend this meeting? Should I respond to this message? Should I work on task A or task B? Should I say yes to this request? Write them all down. Be specific. Next, categorize each decision into one of 3 buckets: automate, standardize, or keep manual. Automate means the decision can be handled by a tool or script without human input. Standardize means you create a rule or checklist that you follow every time. Keep manual means the decision genuinely requires judgment and can't be reduced to a protocol. Most people are shocked by how many decisions can be automated or standardized. The ones you think require judgment often don't. They just feel important because you've been making them manually for so long. Be ruthless. If a decision repeats more than twice a month and the stakes are low to medium, it's a candidate for a system. Draft one-page SOPs for each standardized decision. SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedure, but don't let the jargon scare you. It's just a simple one-screen document that says, when X happens, do Y. For example, when a meeting request arrives, check the agenda. If there's no agenda, reply with the agenda template and decline until it's provided. If the agenda is clear and the meeting aligns with a current priority, accept. Otherwise, decline with a brief explanation. The SOP fits on one screen, no scrolling, no complexity, just clear instructions that you can execute without thinking. Thresholds and triggers. Numeric or binary thresholds make decisions instant. Define the line, then check which side you're on. If the task takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. If the project budget exceeds $5,000, escalate to a senior review. If the email thread hits 3 replies without resolution, schedule a call. The threshold removes ambiguity. You're not debating, you're measuring. Create escalation paths for edge cases. Not every situation fits the rule. When you encounter an edge case, don't abandon the system. Escalate it. Have a clear protocol. If this decision doesn't fit the standard rules, flag it for the weekly review and make a temporary call based on best judgment. The escalation path prevents the system from breaking when reality gets messy. Set review dates to prevent stale rules. A decision system isn't set and forget. Contexts change, priorities shift. A rule that made sense 6 months ago might be obsolete now. Date every SOP. Schedule a quarterly review. During the review, ask, is this rule still serving me? Has the context changed? Should the threshold be adjusted? Keep the system alive by keeping it current. The automation ethic. Automate low-risk, high-repetition tasks first. These are the decisions where the stakes are small, but the frequency is high. Scheduling social media posts, sorting emails into folders, generating weekly reports, sending reminder messages. These tasks don't require creativity or judgment, they just require consistency. Automate them and reclaim hours. Keep manual override and logs. Automation should serve you, not trap you. Always build in a way to intervene if the automation makes a mistake, and always log what the automation does so you can audit it later. Trust but verify. The goal is reliability, not blind delegation. Quarterly audit for breakage or drift. Automated systems degrade over time. APIs change, tools update, workflows shift. What worked perfectly in January might be broken by April. Run a quarterly audit, test each automation, Check the logs, fix what's broken, retire what's obsolete. Maintenance is the price of reliability. Quick wins and power moves. Batch approvals once daily at fixed times. Instead of responding to requests as they arrive, collect them and process them all at once. Set a specific time, say 3 p.m., and handle every pending approval in one focused session. Batching reduces context switching and speeds up decision-making because you're in approval mode for the entire block. Use templates for emails, briefs, and agendas. If you write the same type of message more than twice, create a template. Meeting request? Template. Project brief? Template. Status update? Template. Templates don't just save time, they ensure consistency. The quality stays high even when you're tired. The 2 out of 3 rule for fast prioritization. When you're deciding whether to tackle a task, check 3 factors: impact, effort, and urgency. If it scores high on at least 2 of the 3, do it. If it scores high on only 1, defer or delegate. The rule isn't perfect, but it's fast and good enough. And good enough, executed consistently, beats perfect, executed sporadically. What success looks like. Good means 20% fewer ad hoc decisions per week. You've identified the repeating choices and built basic rules. You're no longer reinventing the wheel every time a familiar situation arises. The cognitive load is noticeably lighter. Excellent means an automated admin pipeline with weekly SOP reviews. The routine operations run on autopilot. You've documented the standards, you review them weekly to catch drift. The system is stable and self-correcting. Best means near frictionless execution for all routine operations. You've offloaded every decision that doesn't require genuine judgment. The protocols are tight, the automations are reliable. You spend your mental energy on the problems that actually matter, not on the ones you've already solved. When systems fail, over-automation is the first trap. You automate everything, including decisions that actually need human judgment. The result? Mistakes, missed nuances, broken relationships. Fix this by reintroducing manual checks for high-risk steps. Automate the routine, but keep a human in the loop for anything that could go sideways. Stale rules are the second trap. You build the system, then forget to update it. 6 months later, the rules no longer match reality. Fix this by dating every SOP and scheduling quarterly refreshes. Treat the review like a recurring meeting. Protect it. Honor it. Edge cases are the third trap. You encounter a situation that doesn't fit the rules, so you either force it into the wrong category or abandon the system entirely. Fix this by adding clear stop and escalate protocols. When the situation is ambiguous, flag it, make a temporary call, and revisit it during the next review. The system bends, but it doesn't break. You've offloaded the routine. The decisions that used to drain you now run on autopilot. But decisions are only half the equation. The other half is knowing whether those decisions are working. In the next chapter, you'll discover how to close the loop, how to measure what matters, detect drift before it derails you, and iterate your way to effortless excellence. Chapter 8, Measure and Iterate. You've built the system. The habits are firing, the environment is clean, the decisions are offloaded. For 2 weeks, everything hums. Then, quietly, things start to slip. You miss a deep work block. The weekly review gets postponed. A new distraction creeps into your workspace. By week 4, you're back where you started, wondering what went wrong. The problem isn't the system, it's the absence of feedback. The visibility advantage. Here's the truth most people ignore. What you measure improves. Not because measurement is magic, but because visibility prevents drift. When you track something, you notice when it declines. When you notice, you intervene. When you intervene early, small problems stay small. Without measurement, small problems become invisible until they're catastrophic. Drift happens slowly. You skip one review, then another. The habit compliance drops from 90% to 80%, then 70%. The deep work minutes shrink from 2 hours to 90 minutes, then 60. Each decline feels minor in isolation, but compounded over weeks, they destroy the system. Measurement catches the drift before it compounds. Lead measures let you control outcomes. Most people track results, revenue, weight, followers. But results are lag measures. They tell you what happened, not what to do. Lead measures are different. They're inputs you directly control. Deep work minutes, attempts, reps, keystrokes. When you measure and improve the inputs, the outputs follow automatically. Control the controllable. The rest takes care of itself. Review cadence creates accountability. A weekly review isn't optional. It's the heartbeat of the system. It's the moment you pause, assess, and adjust. Without it, you're flying blind. With it, you're steering. The cadence doesn't have to be weekly, but it has to be fixed. Same day, same time, same questions. Consistency in review creates consistency in execution. The feedback loop. Think of your system as a machine. Machines need sensors. Sensors detect when something is off. When the temperature rises, the thermostat kicks in. When the pressure drops, the valve adjusts. Your system needs the same kind of responsiveness. Measure the right things, review on schedule, and adjust based on evidence. 3 inputs per system, not 10. More metrics don't mean more insight, they mean more noise. When you track everything, you track nothing. Pick 3 lead measures that directly influence your North Star outcome. For a writing system, daily writing minutes, weekly shipping count, and habit compliance. For a fitness system, session completion rate, intensity adherence, and recovery quality. 3 metrics, simple, visible, actionable. 1 weekly review, 1 experiment. The review is where you ask 3 questions. What worked? What didn't? What will change? The first 2 are diagnostic. The third is prescriptive. Based on what you learned, you plan 1 micro-experiment for the next week. Not 5 changes, not a system overhaul. 1 small tweak. Test it, measure it, keep it if it works, revert if it doesn't. Keep or revert based on evidence, not feelings. Feelings lie. You feel like you're working harder, but the minutes say otherwise. You feel like the new routine is helping, but compliance is down. Evidence doesn't lie. If the data shows improvement, keep the change. If it shows decline or no effect, revert. No ego, no attachment, just results. The lies about measurement. Let's kill the myths that keep you flying blind. Myth 1. Data kills creativity. People fear that tracking will turn them into robots, obsessing over numbers instead of creating. The opposite is true. Data kills confusion, not creativity. When you know what's working, you stop wasting time on what isn't. You stop second-guessing. You stop reinventing. You create with clarity instead of chaos. Myth 2. I'll know progress when I feel it. This is the most seductive lie because it feels intuitive. You'll sense when things are improving. You'll notice when you're off track, except you won't. Feelings lag reality. By the time you feel the decline, you're weeks behind. By the time you feel the improvement, you've already forgotten what caused it. Measure now, feel later. Myth 3. Bigger changes move faster. When something isn't working, the instinct is to overhaul everything. Redesign the system. Try a new approach. Start from scratch. But big changes introduce big variance. You can't tell what worked and what didn't because you changed too many variables at once. Small, frequent iterations win. Change one thing. Measure the effect. Repeat. Compounding small bets beats sporadic big swings every time. Building your dashboard. Now let's get tactical. You're going to select metrics, build a dashboard, and install a review cadence. Start by defining the system's controllable inputs. What actions do you take that directly influence the outcome? For a deep work system, the inputs might be minutes logged in deep work, number of distraction-free sessions, and compliance with the start ritual. For a shipping system, tasks completed, items shipped, and review sessions held. These are things you do, not things that happen to you. They're levers you can pull. Choose 3 simple, visible metrics. Simple means you can measure them without complex tools or calculations. Visible means you can see them at a glance. If tracking a metric requires 10 minutes of data entry, you won't track it. If the metric is buried in a spreadsheet, you won't look at it. Make it easy. Make it obvious. Create a one-screen dashboard. This is a single view, physical or digital, that shows your 3 metrics for the current week. No scrolling, no digging, just open and see. The dashboard might be a sticky note on your monitor, a spreadsheet pinned to your desktop, or a simple app. The tool doesn't matter. The visibility does. The weekly rhythm. The weekly review is where the magic happens. It's a 30-minute appointment with yourself. Calendar locked. Non-negotiable. During the review, you ask 3 questions. What worked? Look at the data. Which metrics improved? Which stayed stable? What actions or conditions correlated with the wins? Be specific. I worked better is vague. I logged 120 deep work minutes on days when I started at 9 a.m. sharp is specific. Specificity lets you repeat the win. What didn't work? Where did the metrics decline? What blockers showed up? What habits slipped? Again, be specific. I was distracted is vague. I missed 3 deep work blocks because meetings ran long and I didn't enforce buffers is specific. Specificity lets you fix the problem. What will change? Based on the answers to the first 2 questions, plan 1 micro-experiment for the next week. If meetings are eroding deep work, the experiment might be add 15-minute buffers before and after every deep block. If start times are drifting, the experiment might be set 2 alarms, one at 8:55 a.m. to prep, one at 9 a.m. to start. 1 change, 1 week. Measure the effect. Log the results. At the end of the week, record what happened. Did the experiment improve the metrics? Did it have no effect? Did it make things worse? Then decide, keep or revert. If it worked, it becomes part of the system. If it didn't, you go back to the previous version and try something else. This is how systems evolve without collapsing into chaos. Detecting drift. Drift is the silent killer. It happens when the system slowly degrades without you noticing. The way to catch it is to define thresholds that trigger intervention. A threshold is a line in the sand. If deep work minutes drop below 90 per week, investigate. If habit compliance falls below 80%, adjust. If shipping count hits 0 for 2 consecutive weeks, escalate. The threshold isn't arbitrary, it's based on your baseline. Track your metrics for a month, find the average, and set the threshold slightly below it. When you cross the line, you act. Use moving averages to smooth noise. Weekly data is volatile. 1 bad week doesn't mean the system is broken. 1 great week doesn't mean you've solved everything. A moving average, say the average of the last 4 weeks, smooths out the spikes and shows the trend. If the trend is up, you're improving. If it's flat, you're stable. If it's down, you're drifting. Trends matter more than single data points. Realign metrics with the North Star quarterly. Your priorities shift. Your context changes. A metric that mattered in January might be irrelevant in April. Every quarter, revisit your North Star outcome. Ask, are these 3 metrics still the best indicators of progress toward that outcome? If not, swap them. The dashboard serves the goal, not the other way around. Small moves, big gains. Name each experiment and set a stop date. Try working earlier is vague. Start deep work at 8:30 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. for 1 week. Ending Friday is specific. The name clarifies the change. The stop date prevents endless drift. At the end of the week, you evaluate, keep, revert, or modify. Use plain language, not jargon, on dashboards. Deep work minutes is clear. Cognitive throughput index is not. The dashboard is a tool, not a performance. Keep it simple. Keep it human. If you can't explain the metric to a friend in 1 sentence, simplify it. Compare you to you. Ignore vanity comparisons. It doesn't matter how many hours someone else works or how many tasks they ship. What matters is whether you're improving relative to your own baseline. Last month, you logged 80 deep work minutes per week. This month, you're at 100. That's progress. That's what counts. What winning looks like. Good means clear visibility on progress and blockers. You know what's working and what isn't. You're no longer guessing. The dashboard shows the truth, and the weekly review keeps you honest. Excellent means quarterly gains with fewer surprises. The system is stable. The metrics trend upward. You catch drift early and correct it before it compounds. The reviews are calm, not chaotic, because you're steering instead of reacting. Best means a self-correcting system that compounds with minimal oversight. The feedback loops are tight. The adjustments are small and frequent. The system improves itself because you're listening and responding. You're not managing the machine, you're operating it. When measurement fails, measuring outputs only is the first trap. Revenue, followers, completed projects, these are results, not inputs. You can't control them directly. Fix this by switching to lead measures. Track the actions that produce the results, not the results themselves. Too many metrics is the second trap. You track 10 things, get overwhelmed, and stop tracking anything. Fix this by cutting to 3. Archive the rest. If a metric isn't actionable, if it doesn't tell you what to do differently, it's noise. Inconsistent reviews is the third trap. You skip a week, then another. The cadence breaks, the system drifts. Fix this by calendar locking the review. Treat it like a client meeting. Protect it like revenue. The review is the heartbeat. Without it, the system flatlines. You've closed the loop. The system measures itself, detects drift, and adjusts. But all the systems, habits, and metrics in the world won't matter if they don't fit together into a coherent whole. In the final chapter, you'll see how everything you've built integrates into a single operating system, one that runs effortlessly, compounds relentlessly, and sets you free. Chapter 9, Effortless Freedom. You started this book feeling stuck, busy but stalled, working hard but shipping little, drowning in decisions, distractions, and the endless grind of reinventing your day every morning. You wanted a way out, not through more hustle, but through better design. Now you have it. The architecture of reliability. Let's connect the dots. You've built 8 interlocking pieces, and together they form something greater than the sum of their parts. A personal operating system that runs whether you feel like it or not. Systems beat goals. You learn to stop chasing outcomes and start engineering mechanisms. Goals fade when motivation dips. Systems run on structure, not mood. You defined your North Star, reverse-engineered the inputs, and codified the process. The machine produces results. You just operate it. Day architecture turned your calendar into a forcing function. You mapped your energy peaks, placed deep work where focus comes naturally, and protected those blocks with ruthless boundaries. Buffers absorbed spillover. Rituals opened and closed loops. The chaos became cadence. Your day stopped being a suggestion and became a system. The habit engine installed keystones that trigger cascades, a 3-minute planning habit, a 30-second deep work start routine, a 10-minute shutdown ritual. Each habit is cued, tiny, and rewarding. Placement beats volume. The right few habits in the right slots make everything else easier. Friction control hunted drag. You map the path from intention to action and deleted every bump. One-click starts, preloaded templates, staged resources. When starts are easy, momentum takes over. Momentum compounds. Compounding wins. Environment design turns spaces and devices into silent coaches. Single-purpose zones, visible pipelines, distraction-resistant setups. Your environment whispers what to do next so you don't have to remember. The stage shapes the script. Decision systems offloaded the routine. Checklists, thresholds, if-then scripts. You stopped wasting focus on repeats and saved judgment for the rare. Fewer stalls, cleaner execution, time for the real work. Measure and iterate closed the loop. You picked 3 lead measures, ran weekly reviews, and tested micro-experiments. The system detects drift, adjusts, and improves. No drama, just tighter feedback and cleaner lines of progress. Each piece works alone. Together, they create positive inertia. Defaults reduce variance. Templates skip setup. Decision offloading preserves willpower. Feedback loops stabilize performance. Rhythm over intensity maintains sustainable throughput. The result is effortless performance. Structure narrows options, which narrows hesitation, which narrows error, yielding expanding freedom and predictable results. From anxiety to agency. Here's what changes when you run a system instead of chasing motivation. Clear rules replace second-guessing. You don't wake up wondering what to do first. The system tells you. You don't debate whether to start. The cue fires and you move. You don't agonize over priorities. The architecture enforces them. The mental chatter quiets. The anxiety fades. You shift from reactive to proactive, from scattered to focused, from anxious to calm. Predictable execution enables bigger bets. When you know you can deliver consistently, you can take on harder challenges. You can commit to ambitious deadlines because you trust the machine. You can say yes to opportunities that used to feel risky because your foundation is solid. Reliability isn't boring, it's liberating. It's the platform that lets you reach higher without fear of collapse. Optionality grows as reliability rises. The more consistent you are, the more doors open. People trust you with bigger projects. Clients return. Collaborators seek you out. Your reputation shifts from talented but unpredictable to dependable and excellent. And dependable excellence is rare. It's a competitive advantage that compounds over years. The ripple effect. This system doesn't just improve your work, it transforms your relationships. Fewer drop balls mean more trust. When you deliver on time, people stop chasing you. When you honor commitments, they stop second-guessing you. When you protect boundaries, they respect them. Trust isn't built through grand gestures, it's built through small, repeated acts of reliability. The system makes you reliable by default. Clearer boundaries create more presence. When work has defined start and stop times, you're fully present during work and fully present during off hours. You're not half working, half living, always distracted by what you didn't finish. You close the laptop at 6 p.m. and you're done. The guilt evaporates because the system handled it. You're here now, not mentally somewhere else. Shared calendars and rituals reduce friction. When your partner knows you have a deep work block from 9 to 11 a.m., they don't interrupt. When your team knows you batch communication at 3 p.m., they don't expect instant replies. When everyone understands the rhythm, coordination becomes effortless. The system doesn't just organize you, it organizes the people around you. What you can achieve now. Let's get specific about what's now within reach. Daily deep work without drama. 2 hours of uninterrupted focus every single day without negotiating with yourself. The block is protected, the environment is clean, the friction is gone. You sit down, you start, you ship. No heroics, no willpower battles, just consistent, high-leverage work that compounds into extraordinary results. On-time delivery as your default. You don't miss deadlines anymore. You don't scramble at the last minute. You don't overpromise and underdeliver. The system paces you. The weekly review keeps you aligned. The metrics show drift before it becomes crisis. You deliver predictably, which means you deliver excellently. Scalable routines that survive busy seasons. Life gets chaotic, projects pile up, emergencies hit, but the system doesn't collapse. The core routines, deep work, keystone habits, weekly review, stay intact because they're protected. The buffers absorb the chaos, the boundaries hold. You bend, but you don't break. And when the storm passes, you're still running. The compounding flywheel. Here's the best part. The longer you run the system, the easier it gets. Starts get easier. The first week, the deep work block feels like a fight. By week 4, it's automatic. By week 12, it's effortless. The cue fires, the routine executes, the reward lands. The loop is locked. You're not forcing yourself to focus. You're just showing up and letting the system carry you. Throughput climbs. In month 1, you ship 1 meaningful deliverable per week. In month 3, you're shipping 2. In month 6, you're shipping 3 without working longer hours. The system compounds. The friction drops. The starts accelerate. The finishes multiply. More output, less strain. Tweaks replace overhauls. You stop redesigning the system every month. You stop chasing the next productivity hack. You make small adjustments, a 10-minute buffer here, a new threshold there, and the system absorbs them without breaking. Stability increases, variance decreases. The machine runs smoother with each iteration. Marginal gains stack into step change outcomes. A 1% improvement per week doesn't sound like much, but compounded over a year, it's a 67% gain. Over 2 years, it's transformative. The system doesn't just make you better, it makes you unrecognizable. You look back at where you started and barely recognize the person who was drowning in chaos. Your first move. You don't need to implement everything at once. You need to install the minimum viable routine this week. 1 protected deep work block. Pick a 2-hour window, same time, same place, every day. Add it to your calendar. Treat it like a client meeting. Protect it like revenue. This is your anchor. Everything else builds from here. 1 keystone habit with a clear cue and reward. A 3-minute daily planning session. A 30-second deep work start routine. A 10-minute shutdown ritual. Pick one. Write the cue, the first action, and the instant reward. Run it for 7 days. Track compliance. Adjust if needed. Lock it in. one 30-minute weekly review on the calendar, every Friday at 4 p.m. or Sunday at 10 a.m., or whatever time you can protect. During the review, ask 3 questions. What worked? What didn't? What will change? Log the answers. Plan one micro-experiment for the next week. That's it. 30 minutes. Non-negotiable. These 3 pieces, one block, one habit, one review, are the foundation. Install them this week. Run them for a month. Then add the next layer. Then the next. The system grows incrementally, not explosively. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. The final truth. You don't need more motivation. You never did. Motivation is a spark. It ignites, but it doesn't sustain. What you need is fewer obstacles, less friction, clearer cues, tighter loops, a machine that runs on structure instead of mood. Start small. Start precise. Start today. Not tomorrow, not Monday, today. Open your calendar right now and block the deep work window. Write down the keystone habit. Schedule the weekly review. 3 actions, 5 minutes, done. Boring beats brilliant when boring repeats. The flashy productivity hacks fade, the complex systems collapse, but the simple, repeatable routines compound. They survive chaos. They scale with you. They turn effort into ease, anxiety into agency, and chaos into calm. Your system will carry you. Not because it's perfect, but because it's there. Not because it's complex, but because it's consistent. Not because it demands heroics, but because it makes the right action default. You've spent years chasing motivation, battling willpower, and hoping tomorrow will be different. Stop hoping. Start building. The machine is waiting. The blueprint is in your hands. The only question left is, will you install it? The answer determines everything. Build the machine, win the day, transform your future effortlessly.